shouldn't be number one. There is only one number one in the monarchy, and she didn't understand hierarchy. And she thought, because I think Harry is a sort of really decent bloke, but easily influenced. And I think he's found great love with her. Spiteful fury by Meghan. Meghan gets what Meghan wants.
What was spiteful about it?
Well, to be...
There is a fundamental rule inside the monarchy that never changes, no matter how modern the world becomes. There is only one center of gravity, one throne, one hierarchy. And according to critics, Meghan Markle never truly grasped that structure, not emotionally, not strategically, not culturally. Those who have spoken publicly about the situation often frame it the same way. Prince Harry is described as kind, sincere, and deeply shaped by loss, a man capable of profound loyalty, but also, some say, highly impressionable, someone who found real love and followed it with absolute commitment. In this version of events, Harry is not painted as malicious or calculating. He is portrayed as devoted and led. That distinction matters because the tension, according to observers and biographers, was never about affection, it was about authority. Tom Bower understands power better than most journalists alive. For more than 4 decades, he has specialized in investigating people who believed rules did not apply to them. Media moguls, political giants, financial elites. They tried intimidation, they threatened legal action, they attempted silence. None of it worked. Bower's record is simple. When he publishes, the story is already documented. So when Bower began speaking publicly about his work on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the tone caught attention immediately. There was no outrage, no moral lecturing, no dramatic framing, just calm certainty, the voice of someone who had already completed the work and was merely explaining what others would soon read. He made it clear his focus was not revenge, gossip, or emotional commentary. His aim, he said, was to correct public narratives that he believed were inaccurate, particularly claims made during high-profile interviews, including those aired to millions worldwide. And crucially, Bower drew a line early. In his reporting, Prince Harry was not the primary architect of events. He was not the central strategist. He was not the driving force behind decisions that reshaped royal relations. That role, according to Bower's assessment, belonged to Meghan Markle. This reframing was significant. Meghan was not presented as a passive figure overwhelmed by royal systems. She was presented as active, directive, and deliberate, someone shaping messaging, controlling optics, and managing outcomes. Harry, by contrast, appeared as a participant, deeply involved but not leading. Bower does not pursue emotional explanations, he tracks influence, and in his analysis, influence consistently pointed in one direction. The issue, as he framed it, was not love or marriage, it was power, control over narrative, control over hierarchy, control over benefits without submission to structure. And once that imbalance was identified, the story shifted from personal conflict to institutional friction. When Revenge was released, it became immediately obvious that the book was not a sensational exposé. It read like a compiled record, not built on rumor, but on accounts from individuals who had worked inside the Sussex orbit, staff members, advisors, aides, and professionals who left their roles unsettled by what they experienced. These sources were not vague or faceless. They came with timelines, context, positions. Their accounts followed a consistent pattern, what was said publicly versus what allegedly occurred privately. Bower's writing avoided theatrical language. Instead, it relied on accumulation. Each chapter followed a similar structure, a public claim, a private interaction, a contradiction between the two. What made the book disturbing to some readers was not a single allegation, it was repetition, the same behaviors described by unrelated people across different environments at different times, demands that exceeded protocol, frustration with hierarchy, expectations of immediate accommodation, confusion or refusal regarding established roles. Alongside this pattern ran another equally important one. In public, the Sussex narrative emphasized vulnerability and mistreatment. In private, according to sources, authority flowed downward, instructions were issued, pressure was applied, boundaries were tested. Misunderstandings can happen once, cultural adjustment can explain isolated tension, but repetition across multiple institutions removes coincidence from the equation. By the midpoint of Revenge, readers were no longer being asked to believe anything, they were being asked to observe. Then came the detail that shifted the story from political analysis to emotional rupture. According to Bauer's reporting, on the day of Prince Philip's funeral, Queen Elizabeth II, then in her mid-90s, mourning her husband of more than 70 years, expressed relief that Meghan would not be present. That single detail carried extraordinary weight. Not anger, not resentment, relief. In royal terms, that is devastating. It suggests not disagreement but exhaustion, not conflict but distance so severe that absence felt easier than presence. No press narrative could soften that implication. It stripped away the idea that this was merely generational misunderstanding. From that point forward, the emotional armor around the Sussex narrative fractured. What followed the publication of Revenge was arguably more telling than the book itself. There was no aggressive rebuttal, no coordinated legal response, no detailed denial, and perhaps most striking of all, no intervention from the palace. Buckingham Palace is not passive by nature. It is an institution built on message discipline. When it wants to neutralize a story, it acts quickly. When it wants to redirect attention, it releases alternatives. When it wants to correct misinformation, it clarifies. But when Revenge entered public conversation, the palace did none of those things. This was not confusion, it was restraint. By stepping back, the institution avoided appearing defensive or vindictive. It allowed an external voice, one with a long-established investigative reputation, to do what the monarchy itself never could, without appearing self-serving, challenge the Sussex narrative from outside the family structure. The silence functioned as space, and in that space, Bauer's work gained traction. Media outlets quoted it without hesitation. Commentators discussed it openly. The usual caution surrounding royal reporting eased, not because permission was granted, but because resistance was absent. In royal communication, silence is rarely neutral. Here, it operated as strategic distance. The impact did not remain confined to public opinion. Once credibility begins to fracture, consequences ripple quietly into professional environments. Entertainment executives, publishers, and brand partners do not need to take sides. They ask one question: does this story withstand scrutiny? When a public brand is built on personal testimony, inconsistency is toxic. Not immediately, but gradually. Doubt does not explode, it spreads. After Revenge, the Sussex narrative was no longer consumed as truth. It was examined. Every interview, every project, every claim was weighed against prior contradictions. This recalibration did not result in slammed doors. It resulted in narrower ones. Opportunities became more cautious, contracts more conditional, enthusiasm more measured. Tom Bauer did not introduce outrage, he introduced uncertainty, and uncertainty is lethal in industries built on trust. What many observers misunderstand about Bauer is that he does not aim for finality, he does not close stories, he initiates processes. Historically, his work follows a consistent trajectory: publication, reaction, silence, and then new sources emerge. Because once people see that silence holds, that retaliation does not arrive, others feel safe to speak. That is the most dangerous phase of any exposure, not when accusations dominate headlines, but when the noise fades and documentation continues quietly. Tom Bauer himself has been clear. He is not interested in dramatic endings, he is interested in completeness. Harry and Meghan may believe that withholding response will starve attention. History suggests the opposite. Silence does not kill investigation, it nourishes it. Unanswered questions do not disappear. They age, they sharpen, they become more precise. This story, as it stands, is not concluded, it is suspended, and suspension, in investigative terms, is rarely permanent. Because when facts accumulate slowly, without spectacle, they land harder. Names become attached, timelines tighten, and narratives that once felt solid begin to wobble under their own weight. The most consequential part of this story is not outrage, loyalty, or backlash. It is credibility, and once multiple versions of truth exist side by side, credibility becomes finite. Tom Bauer is not watching reactions, he is watching behavior, and in that space, where defense gives way to calculation, the next phase always begins. This story does not end here, it pauses, and when it resumes, it will not arrive loudly, it will arrive documented.